Welcome back to another episode of NFT Catcher Podcast. We'd like to remind everybody that nothing on the show is meant as financial advice, and to please do your own research. Thank you, and enjoy the show.
Now the subject is NFTs.
They're known as non-fungible tokens, or NFTs.
NFTs are exploding in popularity.
This is a technology that will forever change the way people interact.
So it is happening whether you understand it and like it or not.
This phenomenon is moving. The digital.
You have now joined Jenny from the blockchain and Michael Keene on the NFT Catcher Podcast.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the NFT Catcher Podcast with me, Jenny from the blockchain, and my co-host, Michael Keene. For today's interview, we have another Jennifer. Let's go. Yes. So we have Jenn, who you might know as Jennifer, Jenndefer on Twitter or X. And she is co-host of Remint Reality, and she makes a lot of educational videos about complicated technical things. So you might have seen her on the timeline. But Jenn, welcome to the show.
Oh my God, guys, thank you for having me. And what an intro. I'm stoked to be like J squared with you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. We had Jenn Facino on, although she only spells her name with one N, but I like the two N's better. I do. I think it's a nicer touch, you know?
It aesthetically, it looks right. Like it looks more balanced. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree.
No shade to Jenn with 3 letters.
Just the one N. Yeah. Does everybody call you Jenn?
Yeah. It started when I was a kid. My parents just started calling me Jenn. Like my full name is Jennifer, but it just doesn't really feel like it fits. Like it feels like I'm in trouble when I hear it. Like, and I'm not a lawyer. I think it would be different if I was a lawyer and be like, I'm Jennifer. And it's like, no, I'm, a fucking D-Gen running around on the internet. You guys can call me Jenn. It's fine.
Oh, you should have done something D-Gen.
I might be getting that handle. So.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Wow. Okay. Nobody take that handle because we are.
No one take it.
Jenn is trying to secure it. Yeah. I don't know. Everyone calls me different things. I think most people call me Jenny, even though I like Jennifer better. But then my sister calls me Jenn. And then, anyways. Okay. That's enough talking about the name. All right, folks, I'm sorry. We are moving on. Let's talk about Web3 stuff, okay?
First off, you forgot about Jen Stark, by the way. You're talking about the Jens.
Jen Stark. Oh my God, I love her. Yes. Oh my God, it's like 2 years since we've had her on the show.
It's been a long time. She was one of our first guests. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Another Jen. Wow, all the Jennifers go by Jen. Oh my gosh,
love it.
I'm having a moment. Wow, I need to go by Jen.
We are
more.
an army of our own. We need our own shitcoin.
Yes, we do. Jen, this is a new ticker, guys. Jen, buy in.
Dollar Jen with 2 N's or 1 N?
2
N's, I guess. Yeah, it's got to be 2.
Two, yes.
That's big too.
Yes. If somebody makes that coin, I might actually have to buy it. All right. Okay. So yes, oh my gosh, there's so much that I want to talk about with you, but I think first of all, you're in a different location. And we were kind of talking about it right before we started recording, but apparently there's a Web3 festival going on right now, you guys, and Jenn is going to it. So Jenn, tell us about that real quick.
To be clear, like this is my first time going, and I got this invite 72 hours ago. So like, here's what I know. It's hosted by FWB, which was one of the OG DAOs when DAOs were hot and popping. And it's basically like this collective of creatives, people who work in tech and like musicians that all kind of come together. And I guess the utility of being in the DAO outside of the community is they host this like festival once a year in Idlewild, I think is how you say it, California. Like we are straight up in the forest right now. And what's actually really cool is last year at FWB, that's where Base launched mainnet. Like I was listening to this Jesse Pollock interview. And I guess when they launched Base mainnet, they were at FWB and had like this Starlink satellite like out of a truck. And then they pushed Base mainnet live. So I think a lot of base builders are going to be here and it should be a good time. I hear it's like adult camp, which I'm like stoked about.
Wow. I wonder if anything's going to launch this time around then. That's major.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. So yesterday was Base Camp, which was like a gathering of like 300 base builders hosted by Base. I did apply to get in, but I did it like pretty late, like a few weeks ago. And I know that they were oversubscribed, but they had like Vitalik like came in on Zoom and like gave a talk. I didn't get to catch any of it since I was like driving here, but we'll see. Maybe some like really cool shit going down. I don't know yet. I'll find out in a few hours.
Sure sounds like it.
Damn, we should have booked this interview
I know,
for tomorrow.
We should have been out there. Well, we should have been out there.
Oh, yeah, we should have been out there as well. But okay, wow, you're just gonna have to keep us updated, I guess. But best of luck there. That sounds like a lot of fun. And let's get into the beginning of your NFT journey, because I remember the first time I saw you, which I didn't even realize it was you until later when I was stalking your page, and I was like, oh my God, I remember seeing that. But it was your interview with Pac-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, wait, I remember seeing that on the timeline. But really what I thought was my first time seeing you was, I mean, all your educational videos that you started making, like that was like, that really got my attention. So what, and that seems like so recent too. It's just, it feels like you just started popping off on the scene. I'm sure you've been here a bit, but tell us about the beginning of your NFT journey. How did you get into NFTs and how did you get into content creating in Web3?
Yeah, I guess I think I'm going to take that question backwards, because I actually come from a content production background. Like before Web3 was my life, I basically from the time I was like a little kid, I was like, I want to make movies. So like running around with the camera in high school, like making short films and whatnot. And actually, when I was in college, my first year of college, after completing my first year, I dropped out to go work full time in virtual reality. So this was like 2015-ish, early days. It was like right after Facebook acquired Oculus for $2 billion, and Mark Zuckerberg was like, the metaverse is next. And so starting my career in VR, like I kind of like went through the entire stack of like editing, stitching, post-production, production, managing productions, and then eventually got to work on some pretty big campaigns for companies like Google, Samsung, Vice, the United Nations. Like those are like some of my favorite campaigns that I got to do. And then, next thing you know, pandemic happens, global economy shuts down, and the last things that any company was spending money on was like this ancillary marketing, content. They're all like, this isn't relevant. Like, we're trying to figure out if like we're even going to exist in the next year or two. And so it was around that time that I basically started fucking around with crypto again. So like 2021, kind of like peak bull market, came back in via the way of like shitcoins, quite frankly, on Binance Smart Chain. Like, fucked around with some projects there, worked for some projects. And it wasn't until a little bit about a year after that, I was introduced to NFT finance. So I was a little late to NFTs. Like at that point, Bored Apes, Suzuki's, all of these collections had already been out. And like, I'm not going to lie, like I never really understood NFTs until I came into NFT finance. Like, I never really understood why are people spending so much money on like these JPEGs that are on the blockchain. But then once I started to realize like, oh, okay, like this is what a non-fungible asset is. Okay, the majority of like assets in our day-to-day lives are non-fungible. Okay, it's only a matter of time if we believe in this thought that like blockchain and on-chain economy is going to be an alternative financial system. It's only a matter of time before these assets start to come on chain. And then it's like, what's actually going to power that? Oh, it's NFT finance. Like, or what's going to help with like the financialization of these assets. So I ended up working at an NFT lending protocol as their director of marketing for almost a year. And I helped grow that from basically a cold start to over 220 million in TVL in the depths of the bear. And then left there due to some conflicts, I would say, with like
what
leadership.
company was that? Can you say what company that was?
I can, but like I hate giving them any sort of attention. But it's also like such like a cornerstone for me in like my professional career. Like I have mixed feelings about it. But it's called Paraspace.
Okay.
It was just Yeah, we were an NFT lending platform that was doing really well. And then like some shit went down and it's basically kind of like the project we never speak about anymore. But it was after my time at Perispace and after I had quit, I kind of went into a pretty deep depression because like I thought that that was a company I was going to be at for like the next 4 to 5 years. Like I was looking for a home to like, I wanted to build and be a part of something bigger than myself. And so after I quit, basically lulled in a very deep depression for several months, but I just had like this voice in the back of my head of like, hey, you have like all of this camera equipment laying around. And like, because I worked in the marketing function, like I was talking to a lot of creators and I saw a lot of gaps, right? Like I know what it's like to be on the protocol and project side and be all like, why isn't anyone talking about this? This is like really cool and innovative. And then I kind of realized like, hey, maybe I can try to like fill that content gap. Cause like at that point I had been in this space for like 2 or 3 years and it's still hard even for me. And it's like, I'm someone who's been here in different facets for a while. And I kind of was talking to other people and it just became really clear that, you know, there's just like this huge gap. And I was like, all right, like, let's see how it goes. Cause believe it or not, I'm actually very camera shy. So it took me a second to like finally get into a groove of being able to do it.
Yeah, it always feels awkward, like when you first start like recording yourself. And then I always have to do a million takes in the beginning, but then it's like, once you get the hang of it, it's like, okay, I'm good now. But yeah. I totally feel you. I always feel really awkward when I'm first recording. Not a podcast though, because it doesn't matter, but videos are a totally different story.
Yeah, dude, like so before I came out here, I was actually filming a video because I wanted to get it over to my editors. And I'm like playing around with some new formats to just like try to add a little bit more like visual storytelling elements to my videos. So I'm not just like a talking head. And I like had this moment. And at this point, like I've almost been doing content for about a year. And I would say like in the last 4 months is really when people started to like, my content started to get a little bit more widely distributed. But like even now, like there's times where like I'm rewatching the footage and I'm like, is this cringe? Like, I don't know. Is it like, it's just like you kind of, it's a huge battle you have to kind of have with yourself and just like get over it, you know?
Absolutely. You're right about that. Your content, all your videos started popping on my timeline, I think with Fantasy Top. I think that's when it started like really. So you got real into, I was looking through your timeline, you got real into farming with Blast, right? All the different dApps. That seems to be going really well for you, obviously.
Yeah. Well, Blast was like, it's a couple of things. Like when I think about content, it's like, I don't want to make content about things that I'm not like literally actively doing.
Absolutely.
I think it's kind of a problem in our space that like people will make videos about something, but like not actually, you know, they've maybe only pushed one transaction on the platform, if that. And so basically I started farming Blast the moment that it was announced, the moment that season 3 for Blur was announced. So like I actually deposited in November. I'd been keeping an eye out on it. And then when testnet came out, it was weird because it was like really tough to find information about. But basically when testnet came out, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to make this like a content focus of mine and just like see how it goes. Cause you know, how often is it that there's an ecosystem that actually like has legs and that's doing something new and innovative that you can kind of get in at the ground level and then just like watch it grow. Because I think like that's really intimidating. Like even for me, like I'm not heavy on Arbitrum, Avalanche, Optimism, like going into and trying to learn all of the ins and outs of that ecosystem, those ecosystems. It's like, it's very overwhelming. So I was like, oh, testnet, being at the ground floor and then just like keep a pulse on it like throughout its entirety.
Yeah, I like that. You definitely can't do everything. You got to find what you like, find where you are. There's no way to do everything. That's really cool. You said Blast are you still doing a lot of Blast or is it kind of like, you still are. Okay, I didn't know if it was time to start moving on.
No, I mean, look, I think a lot of people have moved on, which is fine. Like I get that there's opportunity cost, and some people rather be liquid. And obviously, there are trades on other ecosystems to be made.
Right. There's a million places to be. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I think for me, it's like, I've had a few conviction bets where like the gut instinct was right, but along the way, like I fumbled. Like I bought PopCat in December. It's like this cat. It's freaking cute. I know exactly what this is. And like a month or 2 months later, I like kind of fumbled my bag because like I started to doubt myself, and I was like, oh, let me go into this other play and then I'll come back, and you end up like chasing, and then it's like, you end up getting nothing. But I think
it's the worst. Sorry, it's the worst when the easiest thing you could have done is nothing and just sat there and like
literally do less.
It would have been better just to like do nothing.
Yeah, and
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're all good. And I was just going to say, like, I think the thing with Blast is, like, this is a conviction bet for me that I actually feel like is really rooted in fundamentals. And it's actually really aligned with, like, my thesis for where I think crypto overall is going. And so I'm just like, one, the blockchain's less than 6 months old. There's a lot that still needs to be built out. And I just think it's too soon to throw in the towel. Like, so definitely. I am still farming Blast, but like starting to explore some other ecosystems, because my big content thesis for the next year is like consumer crypto. I feel like this is a narrative I've watched, my VC friends and my founder friends like talk a lot about, but for the first time, I'm actually starting to see people within like NFT communities and like actual users themselves starting to talk about it. And so it feels like, okay, this is now a good time to really start looking at like the infrastructure and breaking this down. So it's like my three main ecosystems will probably be Blast, Base, and Solana, because I do think that these are the strongest ecosystems for some sort of like multiple like viral consumer apps to be built on top of.
What about Abstract? When you mention consumer, they say we're going to be the consumer app. I don't know if there's many details on what that means, but what's your thought over there?
So like I will be watching Abstract as well as Anime Chain from Azuki. Yeah. These are two NFT consumer plays. And I just, like we'll see. Like obviously the Frame team that Pudgy Penguins acquired is like pretty stacked and knowledgeable and reputable in the space, but it's not live yet. So a little
there's nothing there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love it. Cool.
Your bio says too that you're like Progress Council for Blast. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So when the token launched, obviously there's like a governance aspect to that. And basically the Blast Foundation picked like 5 people. One's a representative from the Blast Foundation. And then everyone else is like community member or an angel or someone that's advised closely. And really we're here to kind of help speed up the governance process. I think if you look kind of across the board, people have problems with governance because it's slow and it can be easily manipulated with like, if you're a massive whale and you can, force certain votes, etc. And like the whole point of Progress Council is to just like help streamline that. So it's interesting because like Blast is an ecosystem that came about through like having really robust incentive programs. And so a lot of like the forums and a lot of like the proposals that we see on the forums are actually directly related to incentives, which like Progress Council and like token holders don't actually oversee. That's something that's like up to the discretion of the foundation, but it's really interesting seeing the feedback. And I know the foundation's looking at it too. Whereas like what governance holders or governance token holders on Blast and kind of like what the council can help oversee is more of like the technical implementations of the chain. So like Blast is the only native yield chain. Obviously that yield doesn't come from thin air. It comes from MakerDAO for USDB and it comes from Lido for ETH. Like governance holders can change that. Like if there's another yield opportunity source, like we could facilitate a vote on that. So really it's like we're overseeing more of like the technical aspects of the chain. Like if holders wanted to say like, it's time to turn on fees on Blast, like that's something that would fall within governance purview.
Interesting. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, very technical.
Sorry, I just like kind of like I'm like,
there's
some word vomit.
See, this is why
we're just having fun here, Jen.
This is why we have Jen on, because she is smart and speaks very technically. So we just sit here and say,
You're like,
okay, yes, that totally makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
How about any new dApps coming to Blast that you think might be really cool that are getting ready to launch? Anything?
I mean, I think we'll have to wait and see. We should start seeing like an influx of new builders alongside the Big Bang competition, which is like the Blast hackathon / grant program. I'm actually really excited for that because it's going to be an emphasis on mobile first apps.
Okay.
Like
sure.
Kind of like the big thesis here is like, we really want to incentivize and reward people who are building mobile first experiences, which actually makes a lot of sense if you kind of look at like where web traffic is today. So I don't know yet. Like it's still soon, but I will either slide into your DMs and give you guys
please
or maybe you could do
like, hey, get on that one. I like IKB a lot. Jen, you remember Andy? Did we even have Andy on when he was doing maybe fractional?
Remember yeah. No, we didn't have him on.
No, we didn't have Andy on. We had
DZ.
Somebody he was working with. Yeah, we had D's on. Someone else he was working with. Well, he's doing this. It's like sports gambling, but it's on Blast.
IKB.
Yeah, IKB.
I know of the project and the platform, but like I am not.
I haven't been on that one. Oh yeah. My circle's all about that. My circle's all about that. Yeah, they love it. Yeah, it's fun. It's pretty cool.
I'm like, did the ball go into the hoop? Did he successfully get a touchdown? Like that's like my extent to my knowledge of sports because people are like, why aren't you using this? I'm like, do I want to light my money on fire? I already
exactly.
Like, but this would be for sure lighting my money on fire.
Yeah, if you're not like really into sports, then don't be sports betting.
What are your favorites? What are your favorites to use right now? What are the ones you really like?
I like Wasabi a lot on like the DeFi side. I think like they have a really interesting approach to this whole idea of like trade culture. Obviously, Fantasy Top is something that I'm still really active on. Yeah. And then after that, there's like a couple. Like there's BZ, which is an RWA platform that tokenizes collectibles. So I've been
I'm friends with Joey Vals. I love BZ. They just rebranded from the Colony.
Yep. So BZ is great. Cambria, which is like this RuneScape-esque game, is actually really fun. I haven't had as much time to like play around with it, but next month I'll get back in there, do some duels and whatnot. And then I'm also like messing around with some other DeFi platforms. So I've been fucking around and finding out with like trying to provide liquidity with Thruster and Hyperlock. Doing some perps with Blast Futures, and like those are kind of the core platforms I use. And then like obviously there's Blaster, which is the NFT launchpad for refundable NFTs, where we're seeing a lot of like community artists and like creators come together to like just make these really cool NFTs that basically have no risk if you're able to mint it, 'cause you can get it refunded. But yeah, I think those are kind of like my core farms for now. And then we'll see what comes out of Big Bang too, before I like deploy more capital.
When's that going to be?
It's going to start this month. We're all still waiting for like details to be released, but it will start this month.
Very cool. Thanks for the rundown there. Yeah, I know you're like the Blast experts. This is really cool.
It's very kind of you to call me an expert. I think we're all figuring it out.
Yeah, well, for sure. But like all that stuff you do, like I can't even get into a lot of that DeFi. Like Wasabi was always really interesting. That's where you can short NFTs, right? Isn't that?
That's what they started off as. Yeah.
Right. That was always really interesting to me when everything was falling. I'm like, it's kind of obvious, but I never did. I always feel like I'm going to
get 4 dates right now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But no, like I have a hard time. I always feel like, first of all, just going into too many things, putting too much money, too many places. And like, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, that's literally how I feel like every day. I think I just listed like almost 10 platforms. And like when.
Right. Yeah, you did. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like the first phase of Blast, it was like at least like 20 different platforms. And I think like the thing is if I wasn't making content, I'd probably narrow down. But because I am making content and it goes back to.
You need to try everything out. Yeah.
You have to. Like if you're not putting your money where your mouth is, and if you're not, like risking some of your own capital, then it's like, you can't, I don't know. It's like, don't just make content because you know what I mean? I don't know if that.
She's killing us right now, Jenny. She's like excoriating our show.
No. Like this is different. I'm
only kidding.
She's talking about educational content. Okay, we're just entertaining.
We're not right. Yeah, we're just like, no one thinks we're educating them.
No, but that's why we have interviews, because the guests are the education, and that's why we have them on. Oh, okay. I want to talk about Remint Reality. How did that come about? How did you meet your co-host, War Daddy Capital? Like, tell us about Remint.
We both come from the NFT finance trenches. So right after I quit my job a few months later, he was an NFT analyst at Proof, and he was a part of the Proof layoffs. And we finally just like connected. And it was one of those things that it was just like kind of like lightning in a bottle. Like a lot of our values align. We both actually really enjoy like the research process of like looking into things and looking at like some of the data and trying to like see where the trends are. And we kind of were just like, let's start making a show. Like we've both been on the builder side of this, and now we're on the creator side. And I think that gave us a really unique perspective and edge when we would be able to talk about what was happening, because it's like all of our friends are founders and actually building in this space. And it's like completely different than just being a participant, if that makes sense. And so we wanted to basically create something that would highlight like the really cool shit that we saw getting built that like, you know, CT wasn't paying attention to because it wasn't in a Zoomer, you know, video that was being made by some of the other creators in the space. And it was, the whole idea was like to give these platforms and builders their own platform to kind of like share what they're building and why we think it's important.
And then when did you guys interview Pac-Man? Is it Pac-Man or Pac-Man?
Pac-Man.
Okay. I don't know why I was thinking maybe it was Pac-Man.
We did that at
like Tupac? You thought it was like Tupac?
Because like, doesn't he go by Pac?
No.
Oh, he goes by Pac-Man. Okay. Anyways, Pac-Man, got it.
Yeah, we did that first interview with him was at NFT NYC. So early April was around the time.
And then, because you also directed like the Blast
like
Phase
campaign
2 announcement. Yeah.
Video.
Yeah. So how did that happen? Like, how did you get that gig?
It was just one of those things that, like literally like after we interviewed Pac-Man, him and I would stay in touch here and there and talk about some stuff in the ecosystem. And then one day I got a message from him. I think the exact date, because I remember this because my life just became like an insane, crazy sprint after, but I think it was like May 24th. He was like, "Hey Jen, like I just realized like we've never really had a one-on-one call. Do you have like time to hop on a call? Like would love to chat with you." And I get on the call and he's like, "So we want to do like a video around, you know, the TG, and we were originally thinking of going with like a creative agency, but then realized like I think we have this expertise within our community, so thought we would reach out and see if this was of interest to you." And that was just like a really, really cool thing to kind of be like, cool. Like because my video production, when I started making content, it was just like, what is the most turnkey? Eventually I got to like, what is the most turnkey thing? Because I just need to get in the habit of pushing videos out. And then as I started feeling really good about that, then I started like upping the production level. And I tell people I come from a production background, but it was kind of like, I think he understood that I came from a production background, but it was definitely a leap of faith on his end to kind of, you know, entrust a community member with like this pretty big project. But yeah, that was insanely fun to do. It was something that had to kind of keep everything about it super tight to prevent any leaks from, you know, my end and whatnot. But yeah.
That's amazing. Congrats on that. I love that they went with, Web3, like keep it Web3. And I feel like you can tell that you come from a production background. Like when I see your videos, I'm like, yeah, this girl knows what she's doing. Like it's just obvious, you know?
I appreciate it.
I don't know. I think you can tell. People can tell. They know. And you know who you remind me of too? Do you know Crypto Casey? She's like YouTuber. She's a YouTuber.
Yeah. I was like, the name sounds super familiar.
Yeah. And she is like, you know, there's not really that many, I don't know, at least when I first started watching crypto videos, there wasn't like hardly any women, which is fine. But it was like, so she really stood out to me because I was like, oh, there's like this lady talking. And she is so knowledgeable, and she's like, her production is amazing. She's just so great at making videos. And yeah, you're like the Web3 of crypto Casey, and she makes crypto videos. But yeah.
Let's go. Fucking love it. Thank you.
We love to see it. Yeah. Yeah. And she actually inspired me to start making, like, when I started getting an NBA Top Shot, like, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to start making NBA Top Shot YouTube videos. And that's how I got into it, because I saw her doing it and I was like, well, if she can do it, I can do it too.
It's like actually like kind of crazy. Like when you see someone that looks like you doing something, and they don't need to look exactly like you, but it's like, you know, as a woman, when I see other women like fucking killing it, I'm like, fuck yeah. Okay. If she can do that, I can probably like do something similar, or like I can, you know, there's just this belief that it's like, okay, this is actually possible. Sometimes you just need to see it.
Totally. Yep. Cool. Okay, let's see. What else do we want to get into here? Oh yeah, Michael, do you have any questions?
Sure. So I know it sounds like you're pretty close with Pac-Man. I actually really loved when Blur dropped. I got in on the beta because I like what he created there. It was basically like a point of sale for your NFTs that was never available before, and be able to bulk buy and bulk sell and do all this really cool stuff. There's a lot of like mixed opinions on what impact that had on the space. And my guess is you're going to be pretty positive about him in it, but I'd love to hear your perspective. Like, I'm not saying good or bad either way, but what the impact that had, the floor prices, the market as a whole.
I mean, it's pretty interesting to see, because like Pac-Man's philosophy around incentives is, when incentives are used correctly, you can bootstrap an entire ecosystem and just like kind of hit accelerate there a little bit faster. And he's like, what's important is like what happens to the activity once the incentives are lowered or start to be removed. But like I talked about this in the first interview that I did with War Daddy and him. It was like, I remember when Blur released Blend, which was their NFT lending product. And I just remember seeing so many liquidation death spirals across collections, and like these floor prices were tanking. And obviously there is this like kind of wild game of hot potato among the farmers. Cause like I think it was only like 10 people, or like just a very small group, providing liquidity to the entire market. And I think like ideally, I think his thought process is right. But at the same time, we are in such a niche, nascent space that, you know, it's going to be a handful of whales that are kind of controlling the markets. And like to say that Blur incentives didn't have a negative impact on NFT floor prices in particular, I think is like not a good take. Like there was definitely an impact there. But at the end of the day, you kind of said it when you introduced the idea of Blur. It's like this accelerated liquidity, and now for the first time you had access to liquidity like never before. And I think what we're seeing right now, honestly, I haven't been following Blur all that closely once I started like really digging into Blast, but I do know that like there is some sentiment among Blur farmers that it's kind of like meh, like we're over this, like this is a failed points Ponzi, failed points meta, because I know some of the top farmers got, you know, they didn't get the allocation that they thought they were going to get after like completely dominating like the leaderboard and points there. But I think we are starting to see like a healthy return to some of the floor prices in the broader context that, you know, NFTs are kind of on the struggle bus right now.
You're right. You know, either way, there was a gigantic bear market. So like the price, like things were coming down either way. Speaking of bear market, what was with ETH today? I looked at my...
Saw it below $3,000. I was like, huh.
I know. I looked at my like all of a sudden, like, oh, great. So, but that's neither here nor there. No,
I told you the bull market is over. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
you did say that a while ago. I don't want to believe it. I know.
I know.
Stop it.
Sorry.
Jennifer Pseudo.
Your bags, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Am I in trouble? You're using my full name.
Yes. No, yeah, I don't blame Pac-Man or you know, the prices were going to settle where they settled eventually, I think.
Yeah, it's just a matter
it's
of
a market. It's supply and demand.
They're a lot faster. I think on one hand, you could be all like, kind of reach that.
It happens a lot faster. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, it's like, I don't know. I've talked to NFT stats about this a lot. Like, I definitely agree. There's definitely a negative impact on the floor prices of NFTs. But at the same time, it's like the point of price discovery. It's like, this is what someone was willing to bid for it. And
the price is always the price. That's exactly right.
Yeah. And it's also like, even now that I've like farmed like pretty aggressively, and it's like, I don't know, my personal farming strategy, because I've like done a few things that are like Blur farming, but not on Blur specifically. But it's like, I never bid more than I was like, like once it hits a certain price, I'm like, I'm not bidding anymore. But it's like, I'll bid up to a certain price to get points. If it gets dumped on me, then it gets dumped on me. But then you run into the vicious cycle of like farmers dumping on each other. Like, I don't know. It doesn't help that it's like,
right. It definitely gets weird. It's very manipulated. That stuff is all true. No doubt.
All right. Should we play Hot or Not?
Yeah.
Oh, what's that?
Okay. So this is actually relatively new. I think we've only done this twice. So this is our new.
Am I supposed to have things prepared for this?
Well, I probably should have told you.
Yeah, you should have probably let me know. Yeah, I got things prepared for Gas Wars. But whatever.
Yeah, our regular
stuff. Hot or Not, I'll sit back and enjoy.
It's fine. Normal. It's fine. Okay, so anyways, Hot or Not is where I have 5 different Web3 things that I'm going to say one at a time. And you tell me if it's hot or if it's not. It's that simple. Not people, okay? We're not doing people. Okay. Actually, there might be a person on here. But it's not about appearance.
Red guy.
The red guy, hot or not? Okay. Pump.fun.
Hot.
Yuga Labs.
Not.
Ooh, hot take. Okay, we need to explore the not here. Why did you say not?
I think, and this is like no shade. I know it sounds, we're playing Hot or Not. I'm like, this is no shade to Yuga Labs, but I think like overall sentiment, at least within my social circles and the people that I'm talking to, is like, I think at one point there was this like unwavering belief and loyalty to Yuga, what they were building with Bored Apes. And that energy is just like not there anymore. And I think they're working on getting it back. Like, I know Garga is back and Gordon's back-ish. But in terms of like, does Yuga even really have any attention right now in terms of this cycle? Like, not really. Like, the only people really talking about Ape Chain are like the hardcore apes that are still active within the community. But you go beyond that and it's like, And I also just think like Yuga has so many different IPs, and I don't know what Yuga is trying to do. I don't have a clear understanding of like, what is your vision and North Star as a project? Whereas like I look at Azuki, it's super clear to me. I look at Pudgy Penguins, it's like pretty clear to me. So yeah, that's why I said not hot.
Okay, valid. Yeah, I don't know if they even know what they're doing over there, to be honest. Okay, hot or not? ChatGPT.
Hot.
OpenSea.
Not.
Sad. Franklin. The last one.
Like Franklin is bored?
Yeah, Franklin is bored.
Franklin's so hot.
There was just a did you see the thread? First of all, oh my god, I'm in love. My new favorite Twitter follow, you guys, is Pix, Pix. Well, their username is Pix Sorcerer. Yes. Yeah. Oh my god, they're so good. Apparently they spent 4 days writing and they just posted it. Well, by the time this comes out, maybe it'll be a few days. But anyways, this whole thread about Franklin, and he's had such a roller coaster, really, of a Web3 experience. But man, do I remember when he had over 100 apes and he had that gold Bored Ape and he was just on top. And now
he was on our show. We had Franklin on too.
I know, we had him on, yeah. And I mean, I met him in person and it's like he's a great guy, but it's like now he's just like at his rock bottom, and it is like so sad to see. Like, it really is.
Is it a rock bottom though?
Yes, he's spamming every 2 minutes. He like,
what he's doing?
Lost a bunch of his money.
He's like
What?
playing fantasy top as a hero. He's like fucking around with the algo, being like, how can I get the highest fan score? Like, I know like Franklin's not his rocker, but like I'm seeing him in fantasy chats and he's actually very, very deliberate about what he posts. And like it's all scheduled. And although it seems like chaotic and like he's trying to cause chaos for no reason, I think like he is pushing the limits of the X algorithm as it relates to fantasy top. And
okay, but tell me this. Do you have him muted? Yes or no?
No, I don't.
Okay, I definitely had to mute him. I had to. Sorry, Franklin. And I know a lot of people that had to mute him. They were like, it's just too much. And then he was doing those videos where it's like, it's 9:01. See you in 5 minutes. Hi, it's 12 o'clock. See you in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It was just.
I think you have to be playing fantasy top to.
But I also just think like it's so fucking admirable that he quite frankly does not give a fuck. You know what I mean?
He really does not care. He really does not.
Franklin has a pretty massive following and he has this insane rich history within this space. But like, he does not give a fuck what the Twitter crypto peanut gallery thinks. And I think like that is not something you find often in this space where you can clearly look at someone's actions and be like, yeah, they don't really care what you think. And like, I think it's powerful, you know?
That's fair. I just want him to get out of this phase.
But also like, look at how much people are talking about him. Look at like the attention that it's got.
Look, he's on Hot or Not.
Yeah, he's on Hot or Not. We just had like a 5-minute conversation about it. Like,
I know.
You know, you want to talk about an attention game. Like, it's an unorthodox method, but like, man.
But do you want negative attention? Like, is it worth it? Is it worth?
I think it depends on what you're doing and like ultimately what your goals are. You know what I mean? And I just don't think he really cares. And I don't think it really matters. Like I think that's the beautiful thing about X is like you can mute people, you can unfollow people, you can like curate your own, you can do your best to like curate your algorithm by like choosing what content you interact with or like making lists. And
you're right.
You know, I don't know. I'm kind of just like, let people do what they do.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. All right. Well, that you survived. Hot or Not.
I survived.
Next up, we have Gas Wars.
Oh, man.
And Michael is a participant in this next one. Right, Michael?
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. After being left out of the last one. That's cool, though.
You can go. I'll let you go first. That's a good omen.
Okay. So Gas Wars is basically rapid fire questions. They're not going to have to do with Web3. And you just give a quick answer. So, for instance, my first one is going to be, who is your favorite stand-up comedian?
Oh, what's that? She's Asian. Tiffany. Oh, this is really bad.
Tiffany Haddish?
No.
I know what you're talking about. No, I know. She has Netflix specials. She's absolutely hilarious.
And she's like raunchy.
And she was pregnant when she did one of them. What the heck is her name?
Part Vietnamese.
Yeah.
I'm failing Gas Wars right now. Jenn, he's like, I have no idea who you guys are talking about.
I'm sure Michael.
Ali Wong.
Ali Wong, yes.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
All right. What is your favorite vegetable?
Broccoli.
Broccoli. That is. I've never heard somebody say broccoli is their favorite. Like raw broccoli or like steamed broccoli, grilled broccoli. Like, what are we talking here? All of it.
Broccoli,
butter and cheese.
Broccoli.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
Broccoli.
You know what? Yeah, I might need to pick up some broccoli. I haven't had broccoli in a minute. All right.
Nice. Do you prefer a mountain vacation or a beach vacation?
Mountain.
Me too.
100%. I'm a forest fairy.
You were just on vacation, right?
Yeah, in the mountains.
Where did you go?
South Lake Tahoe.
Nice. Okay. Favorite board game?
Monopoly.
Ooh, such a classic. So good.
Capitalism. We love it.
Yeah, that's true.
Mine is Risk, by the way. I used to love Risk. Big family game.
Oh, yeah. Risk is fun.
Risk is a good one. What is your favorite museum?
Ooh, I would say like the Getty Villa in LA. Okay. It's like in Malibu, overlooks the seas and is supposed to be like a replica of like some villa, I think in Greece.
Oh, wow.
I just like going there.
Nice. Sounds bougie.
Bougie. Jen is bougie, you guys. What is your favorite clothing brand?
Ooh, right now, Backcountry. It's like this outdoor brand, like outdoor athletic wear. It's great.
Nice. What's the weirdest thing you ever ate?
Oh, I'm blanking on that one. I'm blanking on it. I'm sorry. I can't think of
Pass. Yeah, it's all good.
I'm gonna pass on that.
What is your zodiac sign?
Taurus.
When's your birthday? I actually don't even know what
April
the months
27th.
line up. April. Okay, nice.
Yeah. Little April baby.
Nice. And my final question is, it actually is, I guess, about NFTs. What is the most underrated NFT project in your mind?
I'm gonna go with the Zuki.
Okay.
Azuki. Okay, last question for me is, what is a book that changed your life?
Oh, there's so many. I'll go with Catcher in the Rye.
Oh, they made us read that in high school. Did you have to read that in high school?
I did. And it was
Nice.
like the first book that like I felt like I was able to read without falling asleep.
Yeah, it was really, I'm like, I don't even remember what happened in the book. I just remember I really liked it.
Yeah, and I think just like the way that it's written and like the perspective like very much resonated with like what I felt like I was kind of going through and experiencing in high school. Like obviously not one-to-one, but I was like, yeah, fuck everything. Like kind of mentality and attitude.
It's a good book for high schoolers to read. I think all high schoolers are kind of going through that, attitude, fuck everything phase. So yeah, it makes sense why they made us read that. Okay, well, I guess that's it. You survived Gas Wars as well. Woohoo!
Oh my god. I was like, my hands are a little sweaty. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what are they gonna ask? Oh no. It's gonna live on the internet forever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Now we just need your seed phrase.
Yeah.
Great.
What
And-
is your?
and we're good to
Just
go.
say one of the words in your seed phrase. Go.
Right. And then I'll also give you my social security
Okay.
and
We'll
I'll
take
while
whatever
I'm
you
at
want
it.
to. Yeah. Well, that we already have. Just your seed phrase will be good enough.
It's just your seed phrase. Yeah.
Oh man.
Awesome. That was so much fun. Thank you for joining us. Keep crushing it. We're going to keep watching your videos and stuff, but love to see it.
Well, thank you guys again for like having me on. It's always like really humbling and like kind of an honor when people are, can you come on our podcast and like talk with us? Because it's kind of like me. You care about what these 13 brain cells think. Like, okay, that's really sweet of you. So thank you for having me. This was like such a pleasure. And yeah, I'm excited to see the episode, and I'm excited to like tune into future podcasts now that I know what's happening and what the good stuff are.
Oh, that's nice. Yes. Well, this will be out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Actually, now Andy uploads it to YouTube, even though it's not video, but you can listen on YouTube and yeah, pretty much everywhere and anywhere you want. So thank you, Jen, for coming on once again, and thank you all for tuning in to this episode of the NFT Catcher podcast, and we will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFT Catcher podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something new about the exciting world of NFTs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you really love what you're hearing, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite platform. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news and insights from the NFT space, be sure to follow us on all the socials at NFTCatcherPod. You can follow Jennifer at Jennifer_pseudo and Michael at NFTicket. I'm your producer, Andy, and I'm at AJC254. Our theme song's by It's Just Los. We always appreciate your feedback and support, which helps us reach more people and bring you informative and engaging content about NFTs. We look forward to bringing you more great NFT content in future episodes. Thanks for listening. Peace.